Hey, peace world. Man, haven't been on here, haven't fired up all of the gear in quite a minute. Um, what's up, man? Thanks for pressing play on another or joining a stream if anybody comes in here. Some bite down boxing talk here on the Pay Me No Mind YouTube channel. I did not write this fight up last night, the unified light heavyweight championship between Artur Beterbiev and Sir Marcus Brown. It was on ESPN Plus last night. Not the most Yvonne Michelle, you know, not the most compelling boxing card from top to bottom. A lot of these fights were terribly or badly overmatched. I really don't have much to say about too many of these fights. The Jukambayev against Juan Jose Martinez. I was interested in seeing Jukambayev, the way that he returned from his last fight when he was stopped by Subriel Matias. Juan Jose Martinez was 14 pounds overweight. If you looked at him in the corner at the beginning of the fight, you could see that he was super soft in the middle. It was only a 6-round fight, and Jukambayev took care of him rather easily. So that one was a little disappointing and not a good look for the program. I also watched the Movladin Biarslanov fight against Alan Ayala. That one also ended in the first round. I thought Biarslanov had a different first name. Um, oh well, he's a 140 pounder. I believe he was previously on the zone, and maybe the end of his contract happened over there, or maybe Eddie Hearn didn't, see him being someone he could move forward with in the future or whatever. But anyway, he popped up on this card, beat up Ayala pretty good. You know, Ayala just looked totally overwhelmed and underprepared himself. He was 9-2. Uh BR Slanov moved to 8-0. It was a pretty decent fight. He looked a little better than what I saw him the last time that he was on the zone. But again, against the competition that he was in there with, that doesn't say a whole lot. The other fight that I saw was that Yan Pellerin versus Francisco Rivas. That was a task to sit through 10 rounds of that action. Nothing to say about that fight. Super welterweight, Mary Eve DeCare against Cynthia Lozano, who came into the fight 9-0. They talked about it on the air about the way that Lozano came into fighting for a world title, being that she was so inexperienced, but she was a top rated super welterweight. And we know that DeCare in her last fight, she was decisively beaten by Claressa Shields. This is not a dig at Claressa Shields. This is no shots at her, but this is what I'm talking about. This is the reality of her challenge in trying to command the type of money that she wants to command. Um, she vacated this title. She vacated her titles at 154 pounds to go maybe to go back up to middleweight to make to take us towards the fight against Savannah Marshall in due time. But here it is. She vacates this title at this division, and then they have this vacated IBF fight or fight for the IBF title. And Cynthia Lozano comes in and hey, she took her punches and she tried, but you could tell that she had no business being on the world stage. And maybe Mariev Decaire, despite stopping, the fight being stopped in the seventh round, it just kind of shows me how that win doesn't really age all that well for Claressa Shields, to be honest with you. Now, Claressa won all 10 rounds and did what she wanted to do and yada yada yada. And became undisputed, two-time undisputed with that victory over Decaire. But this just goes, they said on the broadcast, it's only like 8 women who were in the rankings for in the IBF's rankings for 154 pounds. There just aren't enough bodies around to make compelling fights for the 2 or 3 women that are in a lot of these divisions. And especially as you get above welterweight, it's just not a lot of able bodies around. But Maria, what the commentary on that fight though was that Mariev Decaire could possibly go down to 147, could drop down to 147 and potentially be an opponent for welterweight undisputed champion Jessica McCaskill. I don't really like just thinking of those two styles right there. I've seen both women. I've seen Mariev Decaire twice now. She's not, she's 18-1 now with no knockouts. I love her passion towards fighting and her story. Shout out to Mariev Decaire. But I just don't know if that's an entertaining fight right there. Now, that doesn't mean that it couldn't be a part of a card, and couldn't be a special attraction on a card, whether or not it's on ESPN Plus or the Zone. I would imagine if McCaskill's involved, it'd be over on the Zone. So that fight was on there. Steve Rose, super middleweight, former Triple G opponent. Steve Rose took on Christopher Brooker, who was a former opponent of got knocked out. He was knocked out like 3 times. Once against Andre Durrell. A couple other familiar names had also taken Brooker out. This fight wasn't horrible. Steve Rose improved to 21-1. They stopped it in the 9th round. Brooker was coming back down from light heavyweight, a cat out of Philadelphia. He dropped to 16-9. It was a so-so fight. Again, this card started on ESPN Plus at 8:00, and it was a task to try to watch these fights. I mean, this card was not well put together. And that's just the reality of it. So moving along to this Beterbiev fight against Marcus Browne, I did think Marcus Browne was I thought he had a chance going in, and I was pulling for Marcus Browne. Former Olympian, he came into it only 24-1, having a controversial fight with Pascal. He's been entertaining throughout the years. He had the issues outside of the ring in his personal life, some DV cases and issues, at home and whatnot. I was really optimistic with his chances with him now moving out of New York, getting down to Texas and pairing up with Derrick James, who has a couple of unified champions, in on his roster, fighting under him. In Errol Spence Jr. and was it Jamal? I think it's Jermel. Hell, I can't remember at this point in time. I am sorry. I want to say it's Jermel. But I was optimistic. But I'll be honest here. I was doing a virtual bike ride watching this fight. That's why I didn't write it up. I didn't see a lot of time. I was getting my ass kicked in this race too, so I watched the fight as best I could. I don't recall them being in the corner of Derek James and Marcus Brown a ton. So I don't know what the instructions were in between the rounds, but I didn't see a lot of adjustments made in the ring to try to change things up for Brown. I think he got off to a great start for himself. He was working off the back foot, looked like he was trying to keep his space to maybe to keep Beterbiev outside, stop Beterbiev, from putting any major body work on him, trying to keep the fight somewhat clean, and maybe trying to set up, him to maybe use his footwork or his quickness to try to land something, something hard from outside, strike from a long range. But he was getting some good body work in the first round or two. And like I said, it was going at a pace that appeared to be favorable for him. And then by the third and fourth rounds, he just didn't seem to have another way to attack. Nothing else to get to start slowing, or fending off the oncoming Artur Beterbiev. So I believe it was a bad cut in the fourth round from a clash of heads that was somewhat similar to what we saw with the cut against damn, I can't think of my man's name. Hold on real quick. The Mayweather Promotions fighter. Badu Jack. I'm sorry, Badu Jack. That bloody situation with referee Tony Weeks, his shirt was all covered in blood. He looked like a butcher and whatnot. We had a similar clash of heads here. Although I wasn't sure if that right hand that it was a right hand that Marcus Brown slipped inside seconds, just a fraction of a second after that the clash of heads. And I'm just wondering on the angle of that punch, did it do something? But anyway, it was a bad cut. It looked like the Badu Jack situation all over again. And obviously, Beterbiev is a guy that's trying to hold on to his titles. He's 36 years old. There's a possibility that he could be an opponent for Canelo. Everybody wants that call. And just got a text. And this dude can't, you can't sit here and allow a fight to go to the cards and whatnot. So Beterbiev starts to pick it up. He has Marcus Brown under pressure for like 4 rounds because it does make it to the 9th. And he just starts chopping Marcus Brown down. And hey, I can't you can't beat everybody, and like I said, Brown wasn't able to make many adjustments to really land a type of heavier punches needed to fend off a guy like Beterbiev, who is going to come forward. He's going to maul you. He's going to have a lot of volume. He's going to, work up and down or down and up. And that's what kind of shocked me. I was shocked to see Beterbiev get to the different angles and whatnot, and find those openings to start breaking Marcus Brown down. I would have thought Brown. That's what he kept fighting off the back foot and backing up, but he never really got to the side of Beterbiev to try to get to some different angles to start doing more than just the straight shots to the body. So it was just Beterbiev stepped it up. Brown couldn't really match the intensity. He started taking a lot of punches. He started getting beat to the body pretty good, and he was down in the 7th round. I thought he showed a lot of heart. He was also bleeding, badly from his right eye, I believe, for like the last 2 or 3 rounds. So he showed a lot of heart and continuing to fight on. He got up, after the knockdown in the 7th round. We get back into the 9th round, and I believe he was dropped twice in that round. Like I said, I didn't take any notes on this fight, and I did not write it up. But the guy came over after the fight was stopped, and I don't know who that was exactly, but somebody you could hear it was caught on the mic that they were saying that was the last round that they were going to give Beterbiev. I don't know if I agree with that. It was just somebody just trying to say something, but you can't tell me if Tyson Fury could fight against Otto Wallin with the cut above his eye that he had from like the second or third round on. You can't tell me in Beterbiev's hometown and him being the house fighter and it being Yvonne Michelle's fight, you can't tell me that he was going to sit there and let one of the officials intervene and stop that fight. I mean, now at that point in time, I guess it could have because it was more definitive who the winner was at that point in time. I guess they could have done that. Now that I think about it, I guess they could have done that. But getting the knockout, just too much punishment for Brown. He was dropped that last time, and he sat there and looked at the referee. I thought he was going to get up. Probably didn't make much sense to continue on. And I don't know if some people out here today that are talking about this fight would try to say that this was him giving up, that he quit. I don't think it was really. I think that would be unfair. I think he'd given it a good chance. He wasn't able to match. He wasn't. His will was gradually broken. He got up from one knockdown, and I think he had enough. And I think it was a wise decision to just call it a night. Again, I was very shocked to not see a little because Derek James has been a fairly successful trainer and whatnot, but it just didn't seem like he was a major plus, or his corner work. It didn't seem like he was a major plus in changing the eventual outcome of this fight whatsoever. So hey, it is what it is. You can't beat everybody. Beterbiev improves to 17-0 with his 17th knockout. Again, he's 36 years old. The time is ticking ever since the fight with Vojtik that allowed him to become a unified champion. What does he have? WBC and IBF. Would they try to get together with Bivol that's out there, or obviously Joe Smith Jr. is with Top Rank. That fight could be made. So it's some decent fights. It's some unification opportunities, but in terms of having any kind of legacy defining fight for Beterbiev, I don't think either one of those names do much for him. I don't know if Canelo. I thought they had the press conference and all of that with Makabu or whatever up at cruiserweight, but he still has a fight that he has to take care of before they can make that fight. So it's still some talks like Canelo could opt to not do the cruiserweight thing, and maybe there's a chance that Canelo could go and actually face who we look at as more of a test at light heavyweight. Some of us may not respect the win over Sergey Kovalev, and then no real title defense at light heavyweight. If you want to, if that's your thing, whatever. But I would not mind, Canelo and Beterbiev fight. I don't know if that materializes or not. Like I said, the target that they put out there, him and Eddie Reynoso a couple of weeks ago, the target was to go up to cruiserweight, which we know for the most part, cruiserweight is one of the most disregarded divisions in all of boxing. So, it seems like the Beterbiev fight would be better. I don't know how the business gets worked out there, pay-per-view, ESPN pay-per-view, or ESPN plus pay-per-view, or can Hearn get involved and swing it over to I don't know. I don't even want to speculate on all of that, but I do think I would enjoy that fight. I don't think Beterbiev did too much to seem unbeatable. Like he wouldn't be attractive. I think it would be a pretty entertaining fight. I like Beterbiev. Um, I think I would like that fight better than seeing Canelo up at cruiserweight. But like I said, the dude calls his own shots, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, man, like I said, that fight was not the. I mean, that card. I'm a little. That card was. It was a task to watch that one last night. If I wasn't doing some virtual riding, I probably would have fell asleep on some of that action. But it is what it is. The main event was at least it was bloody, and it was, it was hard fought, and it was a decent battle and whatnot. We'll see what happens from there. We have a couple of we have action on the zone tonight with Chisora and Parker too. I'll check it out. It's heavyweights, but I don't have a lot of anticipation for that fight, but I'll check it out. And then we also have the Morrell Jr. fight with Alantez Fox over on I don't know if that's on Fox or FS1, but I want to check that fight out. I want to see what Morrell, obviously very, very young at 168, has that WBA regular title or whatever it is to his name. But I think, the Fox brothers have been around for several years, Michael and Alantez. Alantez is trying to play spoiler here. I'll check that one out. But so that's the action for tonight. Let me get on off of here, man. Like I said, pretty good fight, pretty exciting fight. I hated to see Brown go out the way that he did, but when you can't adjust, you can't adjust. Anyway, let me get on off of here, man. Bite Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. My name is Wood. I'll get some content up there the next week or so over at www.bitedownboxing.com. I can't write every other day or 2 and 3 times a week, but I do my best. I might do some coverage on the fights, the action tonight. Depends on what we see. I really don't after Chisora's showing against Usyk, which that wasn't a great matchup for him. Chisora's, he's, what to expect when he shows up. I think Parker is a better matchup for him. How many times can Parker get in the mix and kind of have a dud fight? So I think there's some incentive for him to go hard and try to either get the stoppage or make this a good TV fight, good action fight. So I'm gonna check it out because it's the heavyweights. And if Parker does win, it puts him back in there to be involved in another interesting fight, as all of these guys try to shift around to see what happens as things play out with now the triangle is kind of Usyk, AJ, and Tyson Fury. So these other guys, a lot of these other heavyweights, it is a couple of interesting guys at heavyweight. What do you do in the meantime while the belts are all locked up by 2 or 3 people? So it kind of works in our advantage as fans because some of these guys, they got to jostle for positions. And so you got to go in there and fight somebody to stay relevant. So anyway, that's it. Let me get on out of here. Fight Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.